Well, hello there, and welcome in to yet another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on a Thursday afternoon here in the Valley of Happiness. Busy little weekend for Penn State athletics coming up. Penn State football, of course, at home against Michigan in a game that has some interest, a noon kickoff at Beaver Stadium, and we'll certainly talk a good bit about that game. Penn State hockey with the big series against Michigan this weekend, and Penn State wrestling getting its season underway with matches against Sacred Heart and Oregon State on Saturday night down at Spooky Nook in Mannheim. Yeah, I've had a few folks say you're going to be impressed with the facility as a whole, the complex, but I guess depending on what sport you have experienced there, the experience is varied. So I'm curious to see how this goes on Saturday night, but definitely excited to get the wrestling season underway. And by the way, we obviously there's a lot of interest here in Penn State sports, local high schools, and of course Steelers and Eagles and Philadelphia pro teams and Pittsburgh pro teams. But I don't think we spent enough time showing appreciation for Miami and what the Dolphins, that organization, just a tremendous organization, does a great job week in and week out. And with Mike Gesicki down there, we probably don't spend enough time giving enough love to the Miami Dolphins. And I just think that's an organization, I had that undefeated season, but, Dan Marino never got the Super Bowl victory. And it's an organization that just deserves, I don't know, if it ever gets on prime time again, you just hope they get to showcase that organization and what it's all about. You with me?
Sure. Waiting for this. What's going on here? The Dolphin people. The Dolphin people are.
I'm a huge fan of all the games they're losing this season. Big time. In fact, I'm enjoying rooting against the Dolphins and Colts more than I am rooting for the Eagles.
No, Dolphins deserve a win tonight. They deserve it.
You're a Dolphins fan tonight.
Big Dolphins fan.
Love
those
Ravens
Dolphins
fans because the Eagles have their pick.
Yeah, I enjoy it. This is like a Pennsylvania proxy war tonight.
Yes,
Philly fans are rooting for the Dolphins to lose so we can get a better draft pick.
Yeah.
You guys obviously are rooting for the Ravens to lose because they're a divisional rival.
Yeah.
So yes, we're lined up. We're simpatico, right?
Yes, an opportunity here for the Steelers if they can take care of business with the Lions on Sunday. A Ravens loss tonight, and we're right back into a tie atop the AFC,
which I believe you and I talked about 3 weeks ago, right? That this could very easily turn around for Pittsburgh in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's. But as we've talked about, that momentum can go one way or the other very, very quickly in football, as we have seen closer to home this particular season. Penn State basketball.
If the Dolphins do really bad, then the Eagles got a really good pick because they're going to have the last pick in the first round anyway after they win the Super Bowl this year. Correct. Correct. That's going to happen.
We'll see. Penn State basketball, any takeaways from the Shrewsbury coaching debut last night? Overall, I thought I'm pretty pleased considering a lot of moving parts that you're just trying to put together. I thought for an opening game with a new coach and a lot of new faces, I thought that thing came together pretty well last night. Again, it's going to be a long season. I think this is going to be a really interesting season, much like it has been on the football field in basketball, in that I really do think it's going to be, who's healthy, who's playing well at a given time. But I think over the course of the season, you're going to see a lot of different teams have big nights within the conference. And I think Penn State will be one of them. Now, in terms of where Penn State finishes, I think Penn State is one of the great wild cards in college basketball overall this year, and certainly in the Big Ten. I don't think anybody can truly say they have a real handle on how this thing is going to play out for Penn State this year. I think there's some talent there, but there's a lot of talent throughout the Big Ten. But I'm excited to see it, and I will. I'm still not happy with the way everything went down with Pat Chambers and everything. But man, what Shrewsbury has done to this point, and again, I get it. We're one game into his coaching career.
Day yesterday, though, too.
And I'm saying everything. Yeah, everything he has done, from the transfer portal to putting together the staff, and not just the coaching staff. I mean the entire basketball operations staff. I'm not seeing from the, and I'm not obviously, I don't follow it as closely as I follow football or wrestling, but I'm not seeing a misstep yet by Shrewsbury in terms of what he's done on or off the court to this point.
That it will be an easier job that he would have than Pat did 11, 12 years ago when he came in because of the transfer portal, and I believe he utilized it very well. Getting the players to plug in and play, getting some players to come back, and some players who actually were leaving to actually come back.
Well, and the roster in Pat's first season was not good. And so when you look at some of the guys who carried over from last season's team, now granted, he had to re-recruit them when he got here, but the guys he was successful in convincing to stay at Penn State are orders of magnitude better than anyone who was on the roster in Pat's first season.
Yeah, and if you're a Penn State fan, I'm pleased with a lot of things, but I think you're pretty happy that Mr. Harrar decided to come back.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a pretty good piece to the puzzle.
Now we're killing the audience right now.
Oh yes,
we're killing the audience talking about Penn State basketball. But I'll give you one last piece of insight here, guys. This is the trial by fire for Micah Shrewsbury. Okay.
Sure.
Now, early on this season, some non-conference tests for the Lions. They got to play LSU. They got to play Miami. They do have to play Ohio State at home and Michigan State on the road before the holidays.
Yep.
But here's the name to watch. Here's the game. December 22nd, Quinnipiac University. You're a political junkie. You know they're polling, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you never would have heard of this school. I can't tell you what their mascot is. Every year, and you know this, Ironhead, there is that game right before Christmas. There are like 50 people in the Bryce Jordan Center. We are playing some god-awful team, and I don't know what Penn State's record is in that game, but it's below 500.
Don't think it's
for
good.
Sure.
Yes.
Like we have more schools I discovered existed because Penn State scheduled them than we do wins historically in that empty Bryce Jordan Center right before Christmas game. So December 22nd. So the main
some of those schools that we lost to in the past.
Okay, so the game I think of as being one of the worst losses is actually a school I knew existed because of their hockey team, but the Maine Black Bears.
Yeah,
we lost to them.
Maine were here.
Yeah,
but okay, so other schools
they're beating Ole Miss or losing to Ole Miss, right, in Alabama a couple years ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
Like Madison Square Garden, was that in?
I think that was here. I think that was. So there's always one of those like Siena or Iona type teams that comes in. So December 22nd, 5:00 against Quinnipiac.
Bring it on,
Quinnipiac.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Ted Kennedy leave a woman in the river in Quinnipiac? Can we hear that? Where that happened? I don't know. Oh, Teddy.
Oh boy.
No, but yeah, I go back to what I'm with you. I'm not happy how Pat was treated. This whole situation, how it all went down. Good basketball program, and he's got the background. I mean, you watch Purdue the last 10 and 15 years. I mean, they have just been dominant with big men. I mean, Harrar's got to be so happy that they know how to utilize a big man.
Yeah.
A 4-guard system here. You're going to have a big guy in the middle. They're going to pump it to him. So
yeah, look, I like the fact that he has been part of winning programs at Purdue and at Butler. He's got some pro experience. Yeah. So I think that doesn't just develop you as a coach. That gives you credibility when you are on the recruiting trail, right? Absolutely. And you see the results already. He's had a lot more luck getting kids to come here than any other coach.
You can be in the NBA. I was there. I've been there. I've taken guys there. So I like it. I really, really do. I am supportive of the program. I mean, I'm not happy with everything that went down again, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to root for Micah and the team. He does have a new burger at the field.
Yeah.
Named the Shrewsbury Burger. I don't know. Have we earned that at a 1-0 record?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not a big olives guy, so vastly superior to the James Franklin burger. The olive tapenade is a deal killer for me on the James Franklin
burger. I don't
burger.
mind that, but
Olive throw on one thing.
Yep.
A dirty martini, and that's about it. Dirty jersey. It's all I ask when I get a martini.
There you go.
So, I mean, yeah, it's about 3:30 of game week, and the game week is Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just told somebody who laughed at me. I said I would not mind losing to Ohio State every year if we beat Michigan. If you're guaranteed to beat Michigan every year, I would change that in. I don't like. I'm not a Michigan fan. Never have been. I was in high school. I guess I should say that. I liked them because they used to beat Notre Dame and everybody used to cheer for them.
Well, okay, yeah, all right,
the only reason
fair,
I like Michigan.
The enemy of my enemy. I got it.
Then I get here and it's like
I did like the helmets and the fight song as a kid.
Sure.
There was some attraction there, but
I hate all that.
I
stuff.
do think
you didn't grow up. You grew up when we were already in the Big Ten playing and rock and roll.
No, it's not that. I just never cared for them.
Really?
Yeah.
We never played Michigan until 1993.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me when I think about it.
Yeah.
Bo and Joe never played. They never went head to head.
It is funny, especially when you look at some of the other schools that we played so many times as an independent that we never played them once. Yeah.
Never one time.
Yeah.
Two dominant old school programs like that with big overbearing head coaches and stuff like that. They never – let's get a game.
They probably didn't want to lower themselves, right?
Well, did you ever hear the –
That's why you and I hate them.
We've talked about
school
before,
like
right?
that.
The first phone call that Joe got
Absolutely.
in the Big Ten was from Bo Schembechler, and it wasn't a pretty call.
Yeah.
There's some F's and Bird and some S words and a lot of stuff that Joe probably never heard of. He was called that by Bo over the phone because he ruined his conference. I hope we do it again and again and again and more and more and more. So,
well, a big opportunity to do so again Saturday for sure, and ratchet up the heat on Mr. Harbaugh from the alumni.
I'm quite happy where he is.
Before we talk more Penn State, may I derail the conversation just for a moment?
Question?
It is. This is a question I got.
It's usually
for you guys.
my job,
Okay.
but sure, you can have a turn at derailing today.
So, and I think this is, I can pivot right from what you said, talking about what's on the line for Penn State this Saturday. One of the things that makes this game, again, so, like low risk, high reward for Penn State is that the playoff committee saw fit to not rank the Nittany Lions this week. So if Michigan wins, they don't even get credit for a ranked win because it's going to be tough for Penn State to climb back into the rankings before the season ends, now having lost as an unranked team. But if Penn State can knock off the number 6 team in the country, all of a sudden that opens up that path to the Rose Bowl we were talking about
for sure
on Tuesday. So I would just like to talk to you guys for a moment about the playoff selection committee rankings. Okay. Now, I could nitpick a lot of things, and it's probably bears repeating, even though I've seen a lot of people bring it up. 17, 18 in those rankings. 2 6-3 teams, and I bet you can tell me who they are, can't you, Goon?
What are we, Purdue?
No, Purdue's ranked at 20th, but 17 and 18 are Auburn and Wisconsin. Now, explain to me how 2 teams with identical records to Penn State, who both lost head-to-head to Penn State.
Your question?
No, I'm getting there. Are 17 and 18, and Nittany Lions aren't even ranked at all.
Were you the one who said on Twitter today, and you said, I really think that the selection committee, they forgot Penn State?
I did not say that, but that seems to be the most reasonable explanation.
That's the only reasonable explanation I got.
Right?
Yeah, I will say, this is one of the really, I think, difficult things of the selection committee or anybody trying to do rankings in college football in particular, or even college basketball, but there's more obviously significance in football because as opposed to 65, there's 4 getting in at the end of the day. And here's here's where I'm at, because for a long time, I was one of those that, hey, if at the end of the year you have two 11-1 teams, or in those days it would have been 10-1 teams, and they played each other, and one team won, then the team that won obviously has to be the higher ranked team. And I was of that thought for a long, long time. I have been swayed by the body of work argument. And the Wisconsin thing, well, I'll get to this breakdown, because the Wisconsin one, truthfully, they both are perplexing, even with that body of work, and actually probably even more so because of the body of work in both cases, really. But I will say, for example, Ohio State, losing to Oregon, and then Oregon losing to Stanford. Well, if you sit back, yes, Oregon head-to-head not only beat Ohio State, beat them in Columbus, right? So if those two teams end with identical records, right, there would be a strong case to be made that, hey, come on, Oregon beat them in their place, for crying out loud. They have identical records. Oregon's the better team. But I would argue, again, if you look at the overall schedules, the number of quality wins, and ironically, perhaps, that the fact that Ohio State's loss came to Oregon benefits Ohio State, because Oregon only lost one other game, and that loss was to a lesser team than Ohio State's loss, right? Oregon's losing to Stanford, right, is
and terrible,
a much worse loss than even Ohio State at home to Oregon. And so, and the other part of it is, I think you do rightfully need to try to look at, and I'm getting ahead of the game a little bit here, but at the end of the season, it's also who has played better in the last month, right? Like, that has to be part of the equation, is who's playing their best right now, because part of it is you're trying to get, yes, reward the best teams, but also get the most compelling matchups in the college football playoffs. And if a team, if Oregon, let's just hypothetically say, wins, 4 games all by a point or two down the stretch, and Ohio State blows the doors off of Michigan State and Michigan, again, that loss to Oregon, you don't want to say it's insignificant, but yeah, the body of work, I'm ranking Ohio State ahead of Oregon. So I think the fact that they have the same records, Penn State, Wisconsin, Auburn, or the same number of losses anyway, and Penn State won those 2 games, again, the knee-jerk reaction is, listen, that's unfair to Penn State. Where I think it truly is unfair is, I think then you look at the body of work. Auburn's coming off of a loss. Penn State's coming off of a win. Right. I get that Maryland's not – that's not a win that you're going to be raving about for centuries to come. But I do think when you look at the body of work, and I don't have Auburn and Wisconsin's schedule in front of me, but Penn State's has more quality wins, thanks to those wins over Wisconsin and Auburn, than either of those two teams do to this point.
It's not a minimum of 9 spots inferior a body of work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with those teams being ranked. I do have a bit of an issue with Penn State not even being 25th.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing, and again, I have to bring up the records. The Illinois loss was devastating in a lot of different ways, and my guess is I'm trying to think of the other losses here for Wisconsin, but I'm guessing that at this point that loss to Illinois is the worst loss among those 3 teams in the 9 combined losses. I can't imagine that there's a worse one. And listen, Illinois, by the end of the season, again, they've got a chance to be 6-6 with some quality wins. I mean, they have at least 2 quality wins. At least relatively quality wins at this stage of the season. Again, we'll see how everything plays out down the stretch. But yeah, I do think it's ridiculous that Penn State's not ranked. When you look at, again, Illinois lost bad, no way around it. But you lost at Iowa at a time when Iowa was playing its best football, arguably, of the season, and with circumstances playing into it with your starting quarterback going down in the first quarter. And the other loss, again, a very competitive game against a team that right now appears destined for the college football playoffs.
Yeah, both
season.
Ohio State and Iowa are ranked by the committee. We've been told historically that the committee takes things like injuries into consideration. But here's my bigger question for you guys. The Penn State thing is perplexing.
Baffling.
But the opportunities are there. It is frustrating, though, when you talk about the need to have to jump ahead of Wisconsin eventually. If Penn State can win out and Ohio State can win out, Nittany Lions still need to muscle up to the front of the Big Ten pack. You're hamstrung by the fact that you're not in the rankings this week. They're going to have to jump Penn State several places. Now, again, there's no logic or rhyme or reason to anything they do, so they can do it if they so choose.
And I think a Penn State win over Michigan, I think you will see that happen.
Well, I hope. And I hope the rationale isn't like, oh, Michigan's not as good as we thought. They lost to unranked Penn State, right? Yeah. You can spin these things however you want. And so this is what I wanted to ask you guys about. Okay.
Why does it always seem slanted towards the SEC? Is that your question?
Well, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, well.
In a roundabout sort of way.
Can answer that part of the equation. But
yeah, you're right. I want to talk to you guys about the top four. And the fact that Oregon is currently number 3. Yep. Okay? And this is the question I'm going to pose you guys. All right, now listen to this.
I want you to stop. Is their loss to Stanford not as bad as it's just as bad as our loss to Illinois?
Well, here is...
If that shouldn't matter to them, why should it matter so much to us?
Here's my question for you. And this is all about the committees overweighting the brand equity of football programs and the way they make these rankings. Okay. Fresno State, Stony Brook, Arizona, Cal, UCLA, Colorado, and Washington. Those are the non-Ohio State wins that Oregon has. All those teams stink. They're terrible. So they beat UCLA by a field goal, Cal by a touchdown. They beat Washington by 10 points. That game was competitive in the fourth quarter. So not only have they only beaten crap teams other than Ohio State, they've damn near lost to a few of them. These teams they're terrible. The Pac-12 is awful.
They have an opportunity to make a statement here on Saturday night. This is the chance for Oregon.
Against Washington
If they're able to beat Washington State in prime time,
they don't even have a coach. It's insane. So clearly, this team, you juxtapose 7-1 Oregon with wins over nobody and close shaves against the dregs of the worst Power 5 conference. They're number 3, and Oklahoma, which, look, I understand that. Yeah, I get that the Big 12 is bad. The Big 12 has been bad for the totality of the playoff era, and Oklahoma's gotten in plenty of times with a loss at points. So a 9-0 Oklahoma team is 8th. Oregon is 3rd. The only conclusion I can draw with, as you said, Goon, a loss worse than Penn State's. Maybe one of the worst losses in the country this year. So the only conclusion I can arrive at is that the brand equity of Ohio State is so strong that winning on the road against Ohio State overrules all those other factors. The loss to Stanford, the weakness of the opposition, juxtaposing them with an undefeated Oklahoma or Cincinnati or any of these other one-loss teams, Michigan State, they're up over all of them. Here's my question to you guys. How many other programs are there in the country that Oregon could have gotten that win against that they would still be number 3? Because I would argue probably only Alabama and Georgia this season.
Yeah, this season, those two, generally speaking, not this season, but generally speaking.
I don't even, who else in the SEC? Look, clearly beating Auburn doesn't do anything for your strength of schedule. I think do you agree with that assessment, though, right? It is built purely on these guys beat Ohio State. Look at how good they are. There's no other evidence, zero, to argue for them being the number 3 team in the country.
And to back up your point, because the thing that I was just talking about, because they also talk about the eye test, right? Well, if you've watched, and listen, Oregon passed the eye test in that game with Ohio State.
For sure.
I watched that game, and I haven't watched much Oregon football since. So I will say that day they looked like it. But as
I watched the whole Washington game. They looked atrocious.
Yeah, it was like a 10-point win over Washington, a field goal over UCLA. I mean, Ohio State, like them or not, I mean, Penn State was the closest game they've had since Oregon, right? And that was not exactly a nail biter in the last couple of minutes. I mean, it was a good game.
Like the eye test tells you Ohio State has gotten considerably better since week 2, right?
Considerably better. And, and the thing is, Oklahoma has had some close calls too, but I think against better competition. What I would say was better games, better wins, I should say, than what Oregon has. And again, Oregon, for the most part, these games have been competitive. I mean, it's not like they're it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, they're playing Cal and UCLA and Fresno State, but my gosh, they're winning by 4 or 5 touchdowns. Look at they're winning by like a touchdown, a field goal, maybe 9 points here or there. So that is I think you're right. I think they are riding on one victory, and if you beat Alabama, you'd get that same consideration, and maybe Georgia. I'm not even sure 100%. I mean, now if you beat Georgia now,
right?
But if it was at that stage
of the game,
I don't know that you're looking at Georgia even in the same light that you are now. In terms of winning there versus winning against Ohio State or Alabama, I'm not sure Alabama isn't the only other team that they would get that same consideration from.
Do you think they forgot about us?
Yes,
that's the only logical conclusion.
It does seem. I mean, when you
what about Penn State? Oh. Okay.
Well, and then they do this stupid thing where they send a committee rep out to explain the rationale.
That's not what you did.
Well, and so so they asked the guy. I can't think. God, I'm blanking on his name.
Peter
Barda, I think his name is. So they asked him about Penn State, and he said, "Well, we talked about them more this week than last week. The committee respects Penn State." He says, if you lose to Penn State, it's considered a quality loss. What does that even mean?
They're unranked, so how could it be quality?
Right.
That seems a little.
So if you win, is it a quality win? It's actually worse when they try to explain it. So my theory has always been that they come in, they decide what the rankings are going to be, and then they backwards engineer the explanation. So like another one I've been harping on for 2 weeks. This one blows my mind. This is truly one of these things is not like the other. BYU debuted at 15. Now they're up to 14. BYU's 7-2. They haven't beaten anybody. In fact,
truly nobody.
The bulk of their wins are against crappy Pac-12 teams. And so my theory about why you have a ranked team that has played, so as an independent, they can play whoever they want. So they have all these out-of-conference wins over Pac-12 teams. It's like a backdoor justification for Oregon's strength of schedule to say, oh, well, look, the Pac-12 has all these wins over a ranked opponent. Or losses to a ranked opponent, quality losses, right? You lose to Penn State, it's considered a quality loss. Doesn't that make you feel good, Goon? That warms my heart.
Chalk up another quality loss for Maryland.
The Terps are all fired up right now. It's a quality loss. That just blows my mind.
Sure, sir.
I mean, you're talking. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 1993, and you're talking about how stuff.
Sure, we finished 2-11, but none of those losses were quality losses.
So you're talking about the head-to-head in Oregon, Ohio State, and this and that, right? If you recall. Like, we always talk about how we got screwed in 94. Yes, I know that. But Notre Dame got screwed possibly worse the year before.
Oh,
they beat Florida State head to head.
That's a great point.
And they gave Florida State the national champion, no questions asked. And then split it. It's Bobby's. They beat you head to head.
Yep. So I mean, that's a real shame. I hate to see it.
Your loss was worse. Their loss was to Notre Dame, who finished 2. Where Notre Dame's loss was against Boston College, who didn't finish really ranked. So
still better than losing to Stanford, though, this year. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm with you.
Coach, you're doing homework over the weekend.
Okay.
What's a worse loss? Illinois, Penn State losing to Illinois, or Oregon losing to Stanford? They only took 2 overtimes. We took 9.
No, I don't even. I don't even need to do homework on that. I mean, Stanford is an abomination.
A Pac-10 team there.
Well, part of it is you got to see how both teams finish up. But the momentum right now would tell you that the Illinois, I think at the end of the day, Illinois is going to be considered a better team this season than Stanford.
To your point, Ironhead, like Illinois, I don't think people realize this. They have like a not incredibly improbable path to bowl eligibility.
Yeah. They absolutely do.
They're good losses. They're good wins against bad loss teams.
And remember at the beginning of the season, we were like, Illinois, they stink. They lost to UTSA. Well, UTSA is 9-0. They're ranked ahead of Penn State in the playoff rankings right now.
Shut out by UVA 2 weeks before they played us. And then they I mean, we're still talking about it, but again, your question is I will never trust pollsters. My man Jinxie's in town. We were just talking about how the Vegas people seem to really have an understanding of all who was really good. We're talking about college basketball opening on Tuesday.
Right.
And how sort of spot on those lines were.
Yep.
How do you do that never seeing the team play? So why don't you get 15 casinos in that you pick your top 20 with those teams? They're going to pick the right.
And the difference between 6 and unranked this weekend apparently is a pick 'em.
Well, I will say for the college football playoffs, though, I'm excited because I think that first round matchup is going to be the 1 seed Georgia against the 4 seed Ohio State. But the matchup between 2 seed Cincinnati and 3 seed UTSA, Pooch, I mean, that's going to be
a barn burner,
a battle of the unbeaten, and I think it's just going to be fun to see how that plays out. Is what would be?
No, I mean Cincinnati. I guess I could get on their bandwagon a little bit right now and say that they're winning. That's all they're doing. It's not flashy. They're not crushing people. They actually struggled this past 2 weeks.
UTSA is winning.
But, the Cincinnati, and Oklahoma's the one that just completely blows my mind.
It's bizarre.
Are they just saying, well, we've done this before. We've been down this road before. Oklahoma's going to choke in the title game or playoff game anyway. What does that matter? It's they can't take last year into consideration.
To this point,
it's just bad. It just blows my mind.
I got nothing, man. I don't understand what's different, appreciably different
about the Big 12.
About the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, in 2 years. Yes, we get that. But the Pac-12 hasn't changed in the last 10 years. It's the same teams they're playing. Why were they giving so much credence and so much love before? Not now.
I also don't love the argument that is used, for having Penn State unranked and whatever, having Oklahoma low. It's they've got other teams down the road in their schedule that could change the ranking. What if Oklahoma State loses this week?
Right.
Thus, eliminating any chance for Oklahoma to play a top 10 team. It's just too bad, so sad.
Anything. But the fact that they're playing us unranked, they got to be pissed at that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They got to be like, what the hell's going on here?
So the good news, though, is if we win, it will be considered a quality loss. So
if we win, it's a quality loss?
Yeah. The committee looks at that as a quality loss. So
they'll have that going for
All right, so back up here. We're talking about
the folks in Ann Arbor feel pretty good.
About the playoff, but I brought this up. Somebody asked me the other day. This is not the playoff. We're talking about Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler. So we're talking about the NIL stuff all year. He had $800,000 in deals. He's not even playing football right now.
Yep.
He's been replaced by a true freshman or a redshirt freshman quarterback. People are paying him money. You can't tell me that they're not upset with the return on their dollar. And this is the bad impact of all this. They're just going to drop him now. I know it's completely, I'm derailing. It's what I do, but we're just talking about Oklahoma. It just blows my mind. How can we maintain this NIL stuff? So what goes first, the NIL or the playoffs?
But it happens all the time. I mean, in professional sports, you have somebody that, Jamarcus Russell, when he initially signed, all right, here's the next superstar. Mm-hmm. People are signing him up to endorsement deals, and a year later, it's like, wonder why we did that again.
I would argue it's probably worse in the pros because in pro sports, you're literally just trying to make money for your business. In college, it's a 50-50 chance you're probably just funneling money to the athletic department in the guise of, endorsements like that. Again, that guy in Miami.
Oh, he can't be happy.
He already has come out publicly as being dissatisfied with the way the team was playing over the course of the season. But at no point did that guy think that the 83rd kid on the Miami Hurricanes roster, endorsing his gym was an important business expense, right?
Well,
he was just paying the players.
How about the fact that we're at the point now where we're asking this guy's opinion about how the Hurricanes are playing? I mean, you put the money up, so now you're considered a big booster now.
For sure.
All of a sudden now what you say has to
absolutely matter. Yeah. Tail wags the dog, man.
Behind the scenes, closed doors that used to be done. Now it's all out in the open.
Which is maybe better. I don't know.
Just play this game already. Just go out there and kick their ass, get it over with. We better. I'm telling you, man, I'm sick and tired. I'm so frustrated by watching this team every week. We don't know which team's going to show up. Is it the Illinois team that's
going to show up? It's a surprise.
It's going to be the Ohio State team that shows up, man.
Well, one thing, I had said last week, I was kind of hoping they would settle on one running back and just kind of run them. I'm hoping against hope even more so this week because I really think that is, and I'm not sitting here telling you that if they just play one running back, they're going to go for 300+ yards against Michigan. Not what I'm saying, but I just think it would have helped that running game try to get into some kind of a rhythm, and nothing else is working to this point. So I don't know. That's just my ongoing wish for this team, and including this week's matchup with Michigan. But I like the overall matchup with Michigan. I really do. I think I think Penn State's secondary will be tested, but I think the secondary will be up to the challenge. I think as always, I mean, it's cliched, but it's cliched for a reason. These games come down to turnovers, taking care of the football, and cashing in on the big opportunities. And I think Penn State's well positioned to win those battles. I think Clifford has shown an ability to create big plays. I will be interested to see what Michigan's defense does schematically to try to take Jahan Dotson, if not out of the game, at least reduce his impact a bit, and how well Sean Clifford and this coaching staff and players react to that, because I do think there's going to be an opportunity for this to be a huge game for the tight ends. I do think the tight ends will be open a good bit of the day, and I think those swing passes to the running back or backs will also be there available pretty consistently. And I don't know. I'm excited about the game just because I think it is. I think it is a great opportunity for Penn State to get back into the national picture, not the national title picture, the national picture.
Sure.
And I think, again, this game, I think it's very evenly matched on paper. I do think this is a very winnable game for Penn State, especially at Beaver Stadium. And listen, if you win this and take care of business against Rutgers, again, it sets the stage for a really big game against Michigan State with, again, a lot on the line, as we've been talking about. Not what you were hoping would be on the line, but a lot on the line, presumably for both programs, but certainly for Penn State. Again, if the Nittany Lions can get the job done here Saturday and take care of business against Rutgers.
It is set up perfectly right now. All right, we're an even picking type of game, -1 type of thing. So they're thinking, but Michigan's not they're beat up pretty good. You're trying to take Dotson away, so you got to exploit the run game and what you just said, the tight end game down the middle of the field. Let Dotson run down the middle of the streak it down, run down the middle of the field, open it up tight end. Pack them in. It's. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say we have and we know how to beat this team, but I mean, we have good tight ends, we have good running receivers. Exploit them. Know your defense is going to ball out this week. I'm sorry. Again, I go back to. I mean, this is Michigan. Again, if you're not fired up for this game as a player, you might not be. You're not right for here. If you're not just salivating and waiting to get on that field and waiting to go hit somebody from Michigan. I really have to start thinking you should not be here.
So you and Noble said something that was surprising to me. A lot of times when you guys tell war stories, obviously as a fan, it's great to hear it from the players' mouths, but it's not surprising, right? Like it tracks. It makes sense. The one thing you guys have said over the years that I never would have guessed is how much the players like noon kickoffs.
Players?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, come on, you know what we did after the game.
Right. I see. So when you say that, it makes sense. To me, I think most people look at it from the perspective of the average college student. Wants to sleep doesn't want to, still hasn't woken up at noon. So you're saying this is not a factor. This is fine for the team. It's a nooner.
I mean, they were the best times. I mean, the worst thing is waiting is the worst.
Yeah.
So as a noon game, I have never had a problem with it. I mean, away games are tough because you got to be at the locker room a whole hour earlier than you normally would.
Right.
Because your locker is, you're not dressed type of thing. So on the road, you could feel rushed a little bit. But when you're a home team, a noon game, it doesn't matter. You're just happy you're getting.
You just get in there, get the job done, and get it over with.
Absolutely, and that's the perfect thing to do. So. The reason why I hate Michigan so much
is
that when they joined the Big Ten with us, there was kids, I forget the kid's name, he played fullback there and then left and went to Notre Dame. But he made
a combination.
He made a statement that, we're not allowed to even say the P word at Michigan. They won't let us say the PS word at Michigan. We're not allowed to say it, even they're not part of this conference. They're not this or that. It was just like complete disrespect and this and that, just, typical Michigan. We're Michigan, we're better than you. And it's just like, I can't stand them, and ever since then, I just blows my mind. Another story time with Goon. I come back here in 2005. I guess you guys hadn't played them in a few years. And I remember sitting there.
Unfortunately, by the way, that would have been an 11-game losing streak instead of a 9-game losing streak.
So I was sitting there, and Levi Brown's looking at me like, why do you hate Michigan so much? Why do you hate them so much? And I said, Levi, you're going to hate them. They're pompous assholes. I can't stand them. The players are, coaches are, their fans are, this and that. About the 3 quarters through the game, because they was like, man, Goon, you're right, man. I don't like them at all. I don't like them. You respect Ohio State. They're tough. They're tough, and they fight, and they ball, and they scratch, and they claw. Michigan guys are just like, hey, we're Michigan. They're just like Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to Michigan Stadium. It's a dump. The Big House is a dump. It's the most overrated program in the history of college football. Bar none. The most overrated. They have a half a national title since the Great Depression. Half. Mm-hmm. But yet they're one of the blue bloods, all the great schools, the winningest program of all time, and this and that. Look at your bowl record. It's pathetic.
It's crazy when you think just how much.
You guys got to be all wound up over here. I'm all sweating.
Look,
exactly.
I love college football, so I think all this stuff is a feature, not a bug. But the extent to which sports writers have shaped what this sport is really amazing, right? It's going back to my point about Oregon goes and beats Ohio State and then coasts off the fumes of Ohio State's brand equity for the rest of the season. Michigan is kind of the same way. They just happen to be, they caught the drafting behind, just as kind of mass media was really picking up, right? You had a couple of journalists latch on to the Woody versus Bo narrative and turn this into this thing where, here we are. It's 2021 since 2004, which was the last year Penn State and Michigan didn't play, and Michigan's last Big Ten title. Penn State's won the conference 3 times, but there is no doubt Michigan still gets more benefit of the doubt than Penn State does. And look, that would have been the case regardless of the scandal.
I'm watching the game last night, one of the later games during the Maction. Mm-hmm. Love it. By the way, absolutely love Maction.
Yep, big Maction fan for sure.
When they were talking about the Jim Harbaugh led Michigan Wolverines go into Beaver Stadium and play the Penn State Nittany Lions. I'm a player. I'm Harbaugh gets all the love and respect, and it's just you really have done nothing. You've done nothing.
I'll give him that. He took a team to the Super Bowl. I give him credit for that. That's a tough thing. So, if you've got a coach who's played in the Super Bowl, he's earned a little star power.
But
truthfully, I think what it speaks to, I really do. This is not being facetious. Is just how tough winning the Big Ten is, and why I think. As we've talked about. I mean, I get fans get frustrated when you want to be the team and you're not the team. But again, you're talking about a guy. He knows how to coach, right? I mean, you don't forget
right.
in that short a period of time how to coach football, and so. And I think when he goes into a living room, he gets the attention of right. He's at least you're gonna. Hey, yeah, I'll talk to this guy. My God, he goes to the Super Bowl.
My buddy's kids get recruited, so I know the recruiting pitch that they put on right now. They blow that Jumpman thing up through the roof.
Yeah, but
it's really ridiculous. I mean, it's their right. They deserve it. They earned it.
But the fact that this guy can't win a Big Ten title or beat Ohio State or do better than 500 against Michigan State and Penn State. I mean, it does speak to how tough this conference is, and I think what a remarkable job James Franklin has done overall. Mm-hmm. Again, I get it. I'm with you. I'm disappointed in that Illinois loss. It's still inexplicable to me, and I'm with you on that. But man, again, the potential is still there. We'll see how it plays out for a 10-win season again this year and another Rose Bowl. And I think, again, when you look at the overall record, again, I get the disappointments. And truthfully, even with Harbaugh, I mean, you're saying he's done nothing, and I get in today's world and with his pedigree, you're saying he hasn't won Big Ten titles and he hasn't gotten to the college football playoffs. But he's won a lot of football games, and it is not often that Michigan is losing to teams other than Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State, who are three pretty good teams, right? For the three good programs consistently. And again, if I was a Michigan fan, I'd be miserable too for a number of reasons. But again, it's everybody wants to see their team, and I think Penn State and Michigan are positioned in terms of the alumni support and the money available and all of that to do that. So I mean, I understand why the frustration is there, but again, it's just like the SEC schools. Everybody's expecting to be the team, and you get frustrated and angry if you're not Alabama, but nobody is Alabama in the SEC, and nobody's Ohio State in the Big Ten other than those two programs. And
1-4, right, Booch?
Sorry?
The last time it was 0-4, right?
Yes.
Who's won it since? We got, 2 in there since?
Three. So Penn State has 3.
I was thinking about 10.
Yeah. Ohio State has most of the rest. Yeah, and then there are a couple of Wisconsins in there. Yeah. No Purdue. Like the Russell Wilson team, and then that team that destroyed Nebraska 70-3 or whatever that score was.
Yeah. Really coached the Rose Bowl victory.
Yeah. So pretty much, Penn State and Wisconsin and Ohio State.
Well, let's take a short break here, and we'll be back to wrap things up for our Thursday edition. Just give you a quick little preview of the wrestling, and we'll give predictions for the Penn State Michigan game here on Saturday as we continue with the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show from Quaker Steak and Lube and State College after this.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, we're back.
Hey, welcome back. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube as we get ready for Penn State, Michigan Saturday. Again, a noon kickoff at Beaver Stadium.
Ooh, baby.
And I'll be on my way down to Mannheim for the wrestling team's openers against Sacred Heart at 5:30, and then Oregon State round 7, pretty much right after the Sacred Heart meet. And
how does Oregon State get put on the schedule?
Just really quickly. Well, they got invited to the event. Bunch of teams got invited. And Oregon State's got a nice team, up and coming coach. It'll be a
good way for them to get some exposure.
Yeah, this will be a good early season match for Penn State.
Is there much talent up in the Pacific Northwest area, or do they have to go?
There is some talent in the high schools in Washington. Not like there is in Pennsylvania, but yeah, in Washington. Arizona's high school wrestling is getting better. California actually has some really good high school wrestling.
Okay.
And there's been good individuals coming out of like Oregon and New Mexico. I mean, not a lot of upper echelon.
That was the Pacific Northwest, the movie, the wrestling movie.
I've lost myself.
Right now. Matthew Modine.
Oh,
I can't remember the Lunatic Fringe.
Vision Quest.
Oh,
yes. So that's Pacific Northwest. That's up in Washington. Sorry.
Was it said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not remember that. Huh? Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
But yeah, there's some good. I mean, not like Oklahoma, Iowa, or Pennsylvania.
Sorry.
My apologies for not remembering the setting for Vision Quest.
There's some good high school wrestling out there, though.
Matthew Modine.
Arizona State is going to be an outstanding. Yeah, going to be an outstanding
where's that
team
coming
this
from?
year.
Is that just an influx of money into the program, or?
Well, coaching, and yeah, there's some history there, and yes, I mean, obviously there's money in the program. Sunkist Kids has been a terrific training center for a long time. So, But anyway, so it should be a good early season test here for Penn State. I've had a few folks ask about different rankings and stuff, and how a returning national champ can't be ranked number one. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, where Carter Sirachi or Nick Lee start this season is irrelevant. I will say,
if you lose to either one of those guys, it will be considered a quality loss.
There you go. 141 is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch this year because you'll have Diakama Hollis and Lee, but you have most of those top guys from last year returning as well, and I think I just think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this thing plays out.
This is not preseason.
This season.
This is full regular season, right?
Yep,
so
dual season starts.
Wrestle, or are they gonna,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, everybody that's healthy, but yeah, no, it'll be Penn State's starting lineup in these dual meets and
TV.
A couple of weights. Rockfin will have coverage of it, and I don't think any TV coverage, but yeah, Rockfin will have it on the net. And
starting at 5:30, it might still be in that parking lot celebrating that victory. Hook the laptop.
Yeah, and it should be a fun event to start the season. And I think, for Penn State, again, as always, expectations are high. I do think, it feels like it's going to come down to Penn State and Iowa again this year. I do think there are some other teams that could very well get in the mix this year. I think Ohio State can be dangerous. Arizona State, as we've talked about, and I think North Carolina State is another program that has a chance. to make some noise here when the season draws to a close in Detroit, which is where Nationals will be this
Sorry,
season.
Ironhead.
So, yeah, not excited. Excited about
get
going
away
to Nationals,
to scenic Detroit.
Yeah, the last time they were there, it was not a great event. Now I've heard that it's a lot better in terms of the area around there and what's available. Yeah, there was nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing there.
We'll talk about last time. I would love to know who your favorite place is with regards to leaving, going out, and having drinks, and then coming back and all that stuff.
For Nationals,
Cleveland was fantastic.
Yeah, Cleveland's going to be pretty hard to beat, to be honest with you, in that regard. I like St. Louis.
Not a sentence you hear too often.
Yeah, but I will say, but both Oklahoma City and Omaha, I thought were both great venues
they
too.
Had the bars right around.
Yeah, really, most of the venues we've been to, I think have been pretty good. Detroit was really the exception
you were
to
in
that
Philadelphia
rule.
before Xfinity Live was there. I don't know where the hell the people went in between.
Yeah, you did it. It was. I mean, there was a lot not right by the arena. There was a lot. Yeah, but
you ain't walking.
Yeah.
But Xfinity Live, there's the bar. There's 15 bars or 10 bars in that place now. So Philly's set up for it. But I just Detroit. You said it's a little bit better and.
Is what I've been told. We'll see. I reserve judgment until we see what happens. Penn State, Michigan, Saturday. I think Penn State makes enough big plays on both sides of the ball to get the job done. I think this is going to be a very tight game that will come right down to the end. But I have the Nets pulling it out 23-20.
Nice.
What do you got?
24-7 and Mark Brennan. My prediction was 17-16. It's going to come down to a field goal that we either make or they miss. But Penn State with the victory in a close one. Now,
we're in the same ballpark.
I think that we always are. And that's what scares the
hell
out of me.
This doesn't bode well for Butch. What do you have here on Saturday?
Well, I guess I should stay consistent with my TV prediction. 24-17 Wolverines, douse me in gasoline and light the match.
No, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable.
Gasoline be too quick.
I just think,
fair.
Part of it is I think Michigan's I do think Michigan is going to play tight. I mean, I do think they are feeling the pressure, and I think they know I mean, a loss here is devastating. Right now, Michigan is still thinking Big Ten title and national championship. Right? I mean, I mean, in that locker room, that's. I don't know if the fans are buying in necessarily, but I mean, in that locker room, right? I mean, that's what Harbaugh's selling. Is listen, take care of business. We're going to go.
The path is in front of us. That's what you say.
We go to the playoffs. We finally get the monkey off of our back against Ohio State here at the end of the year, and the world is our oyster. But I think this is the most important game of his Michigan tenure. Well, let me ask you this too, because
I would be in complete agreement with you on that.
Yeah, I think I would too. But I do think, even though I don't think Penn State's going to be, I think the feeling is that Penn State is largely playing with house money. I do think this is a very important game for James Franklin and this program right now for these two reasons. And having, nothing, there's other reasons. I mean, the 10 wins thing and all of that, Rose Bowl possibilities and all of that. But I do think from a recruiting standpoint, and it's not that I think, if Penn State loses this game, look out, droves of these guys that have committed go away. But I think some of them start, man, I don't know if this is, because that momentum thing that we've talked about, that I've talked about ad nauseum, that Penn State had, going for it for sure going into the season in droves. And then you have that 3-game skid, including the loss to Illinois, and I won't say the wheels came off, but man, it all of that momentum now has dissipated. And now I do think, again, I know fans will, how many times are we going to build momentum going into next season, and next season's not the year? I hear you, and I get it. But I do think this is important. This game and Rutgers and Michigan State. To, again, getting that good feeling about the program again, going back out onto the recruiting trail, selling that, yep, we're back again in a big way. And listen, you could be the piece that puts us over the top. One final thing, because I've had a couple people ask me this week, and I'll just get your thoughts, and then we'll wrap things up here. Sean Clifford, fans are wondering if he's going to be back next year. I'm putting the percentage chance somewhere between 0 and 1 myself. And I think, and it's not that I think James Franklin and this coaching staff are displeased with Sean Clifford, but I think you've got to turn the page here. And I don't think he is the ideal quarterback for what they want to do. And again, I don't think I don't think at the end of the season, James Franklin sitting down and saying, Clifford, get out of here, right? I don't think he's being shoved out. But I think Clifford has other aspirations. I think he will feel, and again, maybe it depends on how it finishes up, but I really don't think so. I think he's on his way out, and I don't think it's, I don't want it to be misinterpreted. I don't think Penn State's shoving him out, but I think Penn State wants to see, wants to get that next chapter going.
Coach will agree with me because me and Brandon talk about it all the time. 5 years, you're done. You've had enough. You've had enough being told when to wake up, and where to go, this and that. It's time for you to move on.
This has been a long 5 years.
Absolutely.
When you talk about the offensive coordinator changes, everything with COVID and the last season, I mean, I think 5 years generally, yes, takes its toll on you. I don't know. I don't. I would never say never, and but I will be shocked, to be honest with you, if Sean Clifford is lining up under center next season.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I don't know that I'd be shocked. I mean, look, I'm not sure that he is at this point much more than a fringe quarterback prospect at the next level. Could maybe improve that with a year of continuity of coaching. I do think he maybe would like the idea of being able to actually throw to his brother. I'm not saying that I think he's going to come back. There are things I think about. And look, if you don't think your future is in the NFL, there are worse things than being big man on campus for one more year, especially now that you can collect some NIL money. That said, I think he's had the opportunity to earn at least one, maybe till this year is over, 2 degrees. He's going to be heading into his mid-20s. You think about maybe he's ready to move on. No, for real, he'll be 25 before he leaves if he plays another season.
Yeah.
And the flip side to that is the way college football is now. If you recruit the number one quarterback in a class, you're not recruiting him to sit for a year. Yeah. His expectation is that he'll be starting day one. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd put it at 0 to 1%, but I would put it at no higher than 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I've had a couple people ask, so thought we'd throw it out there for a quick discussion point. Penn State, Michigan.
Hell yeah!
It's going to be fun. I really do think it's just going to be a fun game to watch. Good luck to the hockey team tonight and tomorrow night. Let's get the tone set for the weekend and get back on the winning track in conference play. And we will talk to you again on Tuesday. Until then, be good